What's going on according to sources, man? I am the guy, SD2 Mike Shaun Davis. We are back in the building. We're going to give a special playoff or hold off for our playoff podcast until we reach the conference semifinals. We made that decision. We pretty much knew how this first round was going to go. So we'll wait until next round to really dig into the playoffs. But as always, I got my guys running the wing, running this three-man weave. It is my guy, Bryan Crawford. As you can see right there, you can follow him, B_Craw4D. My boy Chris Cason at C4Dunk. Bryan Crawford down in the Dirty South television production doing this thing. C4 bringing you stuff from the bubble, NBA bubble, talking about how these athletes are being taken care of and how the NBA is going about taking care of the athletes and making sure that there are no breakouts inside of the NBA bubble. That was a great piece you wrote for GQ, C4. All right, so let's get into it, man. As always, matter of fact, C4, I think make sure your mic is connected, bro.
All right, there we go.
You got a BC, your mic connected?
Yeah, y'all got me?
We got you. We're rolling now. Let's get into it, man. The Bulls come up with the 4th overall pick. It seems like the last 2 years, this new system has given teams at the bottom of the lottery an opportunity to jump into the top 3. We saw New Orleans jump all the way up to number 1. The Bulls jump up from that I call it a cursed 7th pick that they consistently get up to the number 4 pick. Your thoughts about the top 3 picks right now? Your thoughts about the top 3 picks? That's Minnesota, Golden State, and then MJ snuck in at number 3.
I don't think Golden State is gonna pick in that second spot. I think they're probably gonna make a trade or something like that. The first pick, Minnesota, they get the number 1 pick, which is, that's a good pick for their franchise considering, the guys that could potentially go 1, 1, 2, or 3 in this particular draft. I think it's good for a young team, a young franchise that, could potentially be sold to like their greatest player ever, Kevin Garnett. I think that's a good start. So, but I mean, the only thing I'm probably certain of is that Golden State probably does not pick, and I think they make a trade at some point.
Yeah, for me, I just want to see what Charlotte does at number 3. I mean, Mike has been they've been in the lottery a few years, and I mean he's gotten like some serviceable players, but there hasn't really been like that. Mike has never like knocked it out of the park with a high lottery pick. So I mean, I'm interested to see what they do there. Like BC said, I don't think Golden State keeps that second pick. I think they package it, possibly with Wiggins or, whoever to get, another star there in Golden State because they're going to be healthy next year and they're going to be looking to try and get back to contention. Minnesota, a lot of great energy in Minnie. You got a very young group there. Interested to see what they do, what direction they chose to go with. I mean, do you go Anthony Edwards? Do you go Lamelo Ball? So I mean, ball's in their court, but it's really no like clear like after those first 3 guys, like everything else is like off the table. Like I think what hurt this year there was no March Madness, so a lot of guys' profile, didn't get a chance to rise, just due to that. So it'll be interesting to see, what happened.
One of the things we got into it, myself and BC, we were talking about Minnesota, and you mentioned that, Chris. Just very interesting in seeing what they could possibly do at that number 1 pick. People forget, literally, Cat just talked Minnesota and their top brass into trading for D'Angelo Russell, a good friend of his, to pair him with D'Angelo Russell. And if they do come to the decision, as BC said in our conversation, that LaMelo Ball is an upgrade over D'Angelo Russell, do you take the chance of upsetting Cat and moving D'Angelo Russell and then drafting LaMelo Ball? I think it would be very interesting. BC, that's business. That's the NBA. Like you said, Cat needs to grow up, because if that's the decision they make, he's going to have to live with it and ball out. But I just think it would be really hard, a hard decision. I'm not going to say what they're going to do. I just think it'll be a hard decision either way.
I mean, I don't think it's that hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, all right, so if you keep D'Angelo Russell, then obviously, Edwards is your pick at number one. But I mean, if you're looking for a guy, to pair with, Karl Anthony Towns, somebody who can score, but who is a much more willing passer, who can see the floor a lot better than D'Angelo Russell. I mean, obviously, D'Angelo Russell got some pro experience, under his belt and everything like that. But, I think if you're talking about building the future, I've always said that you don't pass on like franchise point guards. It's just something you don't do. It's big men and franchise point guards you just don't pass on. And so when you got a guy like, LaMelo Ball in the mix, who, is obviously, he's been playing pro ball for like the last 3 years. To me, I think he's a lot better than his brother and has a much higher ceiling. And I mean, I think if it comes down to LaMelo and D'Angelo, Russell, you trade D'Angelo and you go with LaMelo, and Cat just gonna have to deal.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree there, just because I think if you're in a situation like Minnesota, the last thing you want to do is upset like a franchise guy. So you don't want to piss him off and then have him like basically looking for his way out of there, because then you'll just have LaMelo there, and now you're trying to recruit guys to come to Minnesota, which doesn't happen. So, I mean, Minnesota hasn't really done anything, after, Tibbs, after the firing of Tibbs, but, losing Cat could basically have you in the lottery for like the next decade or so. So I think it's a situation where you're going to have to take, the word of D'Angelo and now Cat. You're going to have to go Anthony Edwards, number one, to pair those guys with it. I do agree that LaMelo's ceiling is a lot higher than his brother's, and he does have the talent to be a franchise point guard. I just don't think you want to upset a franchise like, five, a guy who's that skilled. You don't want to upset him and have him looking for his way out, because we've seen it. Even guys that are locked into these long-term deals, if they're unhappy, they're going to force their way out. They're going to find a way out.
Well, I mean, the only reason I say that is because, you're going to have Karl Anthony Towns for at least 7 years, right? So, that means at least 3 of those years he's going to be playing with LaMelo Ball. For me, it just doesn't even make sense to pass up on LaMelo for a guy that's already been traded 3 times. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like D'Angelo Russell has been moved from the Lakers, and he went to Brooklyn, and he went to Golden State, and now he's in Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? He's on his 4th team, and he might still be on his rookie deal. You know what I'm saying? So that to me is a serious red flag. And I think, I know Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell is cool because they're from the same class and everything like that. But, again, it goes back to business, and you got to make the best move for the franchise. And if Karl Anthony Towns wants out, at some point, I mean, he's not going to pass up that money, when it comes to that extension. If he wants out, Minnesota could get something for him. So he really has no leverage other than the fact that he's just going to be upset for a little while.
Yeah, I think I see both sides of the coin, man. I see where Minnesota doesn't want to upset the franchise guy. They clearly made a decision to take his back in the Jimmy Butler situation. When they got rid of Andrew Wiggins, they made him the core and the foundation of the youth movement and what they were doing going forward. The guys they picked up in the Denver trade, the guys that got back in the Golden State trade. So it's going to be hard. And Anthony Edwards is that guy. He fits right in with D'Angelo Russell and also Cat. They got Malik Beasley and a lot of other young pieces. And then LaMelo Ball. Look, are we just agreeing that we think LaMelo Ball is a better ball player than D'Angelo Russell? Are we agreeing on that?
I think he has a higher ceiling. The crazy thing is, if he doesn't go first, he could potentially slip to 4. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he could end up in the Bulls. So, I mean, this it could go either way. I don't think Mike passes up on him, but I mean, there's a strong possibility that he could.
Yeah, it's a draft with one move or somebody doing one thing can affect like those top three guys the way they go. I don't really think like Wiseman falls out of those top three pick, but I think it's one and I think out of those top three guys, Lamelo is the one who could fall out of that top three, depending on how things go. But yeah, I just don't see too much slippage there. No, I think we lost.
I think we lost.
Yep.
I think we lost Shaun. But yeah, man. You know what? I don't know. I think for the fourth spot, for the Bulls to be in the fourth spot, it's a tough place to be in.
It is.
I mean, you got obviously Anthony Edwards, you got LaMelo Ball, you got James Wiseman, who I think Golden State probably picks and then trades to somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it could go either way. But I think if you the Bulls in that fourth spot, you might want to trade up if you can.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that D'Angelo, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he did sign his second deal.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, and and the thing with D'Angelo, if you look back, I mean, I think he got caught up in just that free agents stuff. Like Brooklyn basically had Kyrie coming over there, so if you're picking between Kyrie and D'Angelo, you're taking Kyrie just because that was KD's best friend. That's basically what got KD to Brooklyn. So,
I mean, and he was only going to be running with Golden State anyway. We knew he wasn't going to be there for long. So,
yeah,
that was a sign and trade. That was a sign and trade between Brooklyn and Golden State.
Yep.
And we knew that he was going to be an asset to be moved at a later date, and that's what ended up happening. So, that number one pick, is it up? We know the number two pick is probably going to be shopped. Is the number one pick up to be shopped? I mean, you said Anthony Edwards is the only person that really makes sense at that spot. Would Minnesota take offers on the number one spot?
I don't think so, just because.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just think if they're in a rebuilding situation, I mean, you have two, you have franchise guy and Cat, you have, his best friend there. And now you just pretty much the only thing that makes the Anthony Edwards pick tough because you got Jared, you just drafted Jared Culver there. You got Malik Beasley. You got like some you have other wings there too. So do you pretty much like look to shop Jared Culver now and bring in Anthony Edwards? So I mean they have some decisions. I don't see them moving that pick at all. Just because I'm looking at what are they trading for? Like, are you getting veteran to come over there and play with those guys? I don't think so. I think they stay young.
All right, I mean, I think what? Oh, go ahead. No, I was saying I think you could
pick, but go ahead, BC.
No, I'm saying you could probably move Jared Culver to like 3. Anthony Edwards. Both those guys are kind of interchangeable at those spots. So I mean, you could find a way to make it work. The question is just in the point guard situation. Do you go with D'Angelo or do you go with LaMelo?
So the question I asked before we had the interruptions, the technical difficulties was: are we all agreeing that LaMelo is a better player than D'Angelo Russell off the rip?
Better player, not right now. Higher ceiling, I think most definitely.
Yeah, I mean they both do two completely different things. I look at it's yet to be seen what Melo is pretty much going to be a floor general, but he can score. I mean, and D'Angelo just loves to score. Very great in the pick and roll. LaMelo is also great in the pick and roll, and it's hard for me to say like a kid just coming in is better than a seasoned pro. But yeah, I think the ceiling is definitely higher. When you look at LaMelo being 6'7", 6'8", and he's going to be a matchup nightmare like majority of nights once he gets established in the league and once he pretty much gets the hang of everything.
All right.
It's tough to pass on something like that. Like that, like he's almost like a nature. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Klay Thompson comes back healthy for Golden State. They get Steph Curry back healthy, and then Draymond Green. They had a lot of young players developed this year. I like the Eric Pascal kid. He developed very well during the season. Number 2 pick, if Anthony Edwards goes number 1, as we think he will, based upon what we just talked about, do they dare? They won't take Lamelo, which BC goes to the point that Lamelo might actually fall in the Bulls' lap at 4, which I think they will be totally happy with. They're going to be big-time players in free agency. Do they just shop this pick? Is it just known around the league that they're going to be able to shop this pick right now? Does everybody know, like, Golden State's trading that pick?
I mean, I'm saying they probably pick Wiseman for somebody else, whether it be Philly and try to get Embiid or, whatever else they try to do. James Wiseman.
Now, you brought up that trade. What pieces can Golden State send to get Embiid? I mean, that would have to be Wiseman and who else?
I mean,
they're not going to give up one of the trio, right? They're not going to give up Klay. They're not going to give up Draymond. So who's going to go to Philly along with Wiseman to be able to get Joel Embiid to Golden State?
I mean, the only other big contract player they got is Wiggins. You know what I'm saying? But I don't really think you got to give up much. I really don't. I think Philly is sold on Ben Simmons for whatever reason as being the guy. And, if they just want to get rid of Embiid, I think they give him away.
Yeah, I think the consistency is that, they'll look to move that pick just because of where they're at, just in terms of like that core group. That core group is looking to compete right away next season, and bringing a young guy in there to try and develop isn't something they're looking for. So I think they're going to have a lot of options, and there's going to be a lot of people calling that phone on draft night. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's already conversations going on now. I think Wiseman is going to be, a pick that ends up being for somebody else, or Minnesota could shock everybody and get Wiseman and try to do some Twin Towers type of thing. I think Wiseman does have a versatile enough game, but, this draft is, we know who those top 3 guys are going to be, but like I said, one move could sway things, could pretty much just throw a monkey wrench in everything.
With that being said, is there any way LaMelo sneaks past Michael Jordan at 3?
No,
I don't think so either. I don't think Mike would ever let him slip past and get to the pool.
Yeah, I got Mike. Yeah, I think too highly of Mike to have our decisions.
Listen, man, Mike has made some bad drafts, but he ain't no damn fool.
Hey, we're not saying that before. I don't know.
Mike, I don't know. Like, I don't think Terry Rozier and what's the kid name?
Graham?
Yeah, I don't think. No, he'd be stupid to do something like that, man.
You see, Mike dealing with LeVar Ball for 3-4 years.
You know what? I think that's an overblown issue, man. Like,
too, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like LeVar Ball, like his 15 minutes been up. I don't nobody care about that no more.
Well, we get to the Bulls at number 4, and before we start talking about possible options for them, AK Arturas Karnisovas, he talked to the media on Friday. One of the things he said that was very interesting is that he's not in a rush. Fired Jim Boylan last week, and he's not in a rush to hire the next coach. Now, conventional wisdom would have you think that they would have a coach in place to be able to bring these guys in, work them out, go through the draft process to be able to make a decision upon the guy that they want. Do you believe that he's going to be very patient and not be in a rush, or do you think he already has the guy in mind that he wants in place and he's just playing hush with us?
I don't think he has to be in a rush because, I think you said it on Twitter a couple of days ago. This year is interesting because free agency comes before the draft. You know what I'm saying?
Time, right.
Yeah, so I think that's something that nobody's really talking about, because I think, whatever happens in free agency obviously is going to affect what happens in the draft. Like me and Chris was saying, when we had difficulty being in that fourth spot, man, is tough because you know who the top three players are, and you rolling the dice on pretty much everybody else at that point. So it's like, do you try to address certain needs in free agency, or do you try to use the draft to fill some holes? I mean, you got some assets that you can trade that people, will have conversations with you on the phone about. So, I mean, the Bulls are in a tough situation, but also in a unique one in that they can actually come out on top in this particular situation. So, somebody else could potentially draft for them. We don't know. So, we'll see. But I can understand why AK is not in a rush, and being in the fourth spot. I don't know. That just don't really feel good to me. Because then you got a couple Euro guys that you're looking at who are always hit or miss. You got some college guys that could potentially shock people like Cole Anthony and guys like that. So I think at this point, if you AK, you listening to everything and your eyes is open and all options on the table.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to. Just going back to the coaching thing, you really don't need to make or be in a hurry because a lot of the coaching candidates are still, busy, with their respective team, in the bubble for the playoffs. So you pretty much wait till a lot of teams get eliminated, and then you can go through like the interview process. Then I think most interview process are going to be virtual now, so you can pretty much have those like whenever. Right. And, there's really no rush. Next season looks like it's going to be pushed back past December now. So, like, there's no rush on any front for that. With the Bulls being in the fourth spot, I mean, it's a very good position. They can choose to go a number of ways. What I think they need is they'll probably need to look up, like, shoring up that wing position if you're me. And I do think you need to give, a guy like Kobe White a full shot at seeing what he can do at that one spot and then go forward just because, kind of had a niche. The one thing Jim Boylan did good last year was just kind of pretty much bringing Kobe along slowly. Kobe develop a niche coming off that bench and just basically going to work in terms of scoring and not putting the pressures of trying to run the offense, trying to get the team into their offense right away, because I don't think he was ready for that at all. So the Bulls have a lot of things and a lot of situations that can go good for them this year. I mean, we look at the Otto Porter; he'll pick up that player option. Could be a trade bait sometime. Whenever we get to the trade deadline next year, whenever that is. And the one reason why I say they need to shore up that wing there because you got Otto Porter there. I think he only played 14 games this year due to injury. You got Chandler Hudson's second year. He's been bothered by injuries the first 2 years. So you need somebody to shore up that spot. But you could also go point guard too. I mean, and see if Kobe is happy coming off that bench in that 6-man role, a la James Harden and OKC. No comparisons, though. No comparisons.
C4, you were shaking your head, man. What's personal with you and Kobe White? What's up?
You talking about me? Man, yeah. Send that boy up, man. Get that boy up out of here, man. If you could get somebody better than Kobe White, you better do it. I don't know.
So, I mean, basically, if they wanted LaMelo Ball, and this is my problem with the Chicago Bulls, because I feel like in the last 4 years, they've had opportunities to like somebody, be aggressive, and go get them. C4, you talked about on the previous podcast that they loved Trae Young. They loved him. And if you love him, go get him.
Go get him.
Go get him. And if they're in a position to where they fall in love with LaMelo Ball, I hope AK has the guts to say, I'm going to get my guy. That's my point guard for the next 10 years. I'm going to get him. That's my franchise cornerstone, one of them. Moving forward, I'm going to get him, and I'm going to give up whatever pieces people might think I need to hold on to. I'm going to give them up to go get what I know is going to be the cornerstone of the program moving forward. Hopefully, he has the guts to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
better do it.
I think he said he was just like looking at talent. Whatever the best talent is, he'll take. So if LaMelo's there at 4, you got to grab him, and you figure the rest of things out, in training camp or during the remainder of the offseason.
I mean, if LaMelo is there at 4, who does Michael Jordan take at 3?
A big guy. Mike loves big guys, man.
I keep telling you, y'all give Mike way too much credit. Mike may take the French kid.
I'm not even thinking about Michael Jordan. I think Rich Cho is way smarter than that.
Yeah, who has the final word there?
So you think Mike will fall in love with? You think Mike will fall in love with Denny? Is that what you're saying, C4?
I mean, I'm just going back. I'm just giving Mike a hard time just from like historically what we've seen. From Mike in terms of like draft picks. I mean, he's got it. He got it right on Kemba. Who else has he got it right on?
That's the only one he got right.
You can say Miles Bridges. Yep, that's pretty much been it. Michael draft like a Carolina guy, or something he'll fall in love with, like somebody from in that region. So yeah, I mean, this is an important draft. This is important for him as well.
You know what? If he like Carolina guys, give him Kobe White. We'll take the 3rd pick.
That'll be profitable for both teams. I think North Carolina people will probably love Kobe White coming home, and LaMelo can come to Chicago. So
just don't send Terry Rozier back. Don't send him back. Get a 3rd team involved.
Oh man! According to sources, my guys, Chris Cason, Bryan Crawford, man, you can follow us on all streaming platforms. We're talking about the Bulls getting the 4th pick in the upcoming 2020 NBA draft via the draft lottery. And Arturas Karnisovas talked about showing patience not only with his coach, but with the process. We just talked about what they draft up or move up in the draft to get the number 2 pick to assure themselves of getting LaMelo Ball or whomever they might think will be the cornerstone for the franchise and the program moving forward. Are you buying all of this patience that our AK is talking about, or do you think he wants to win next year? Do you think he's coming in saying, you know what, I got a 2-year plan that's going to get us in place, or do you feel like he's sitting back saying, look, I want to surprise the league next year. I'm going to make moves to make sure that we're in the playoffs and we're competing?
I mean, he ain't got nothing to win with.
At all?
No.
No, I've always said this team, talent-wise, is a lot better than what the level they played up to. And I think a large part of that has just been the direction that these guys have gotten, and that goes right back to Boylan. Those guys did not like playing for him whatsoever. I mean, and when you're a professional, if you're coming to work dreading like dealing with the boss, you're not going to go out there and put forth like the maximum effort. The fact that 2 guys, and Zach and Laurie, had to have a private conversation somewhat like, I think like 20 games into the season, where they're like, hey, I know they got you playing this way, but we're going to start running some pick and rolls to get you more involved in the offense. The fact that those 2 have to come together and have that conversation and actually go against what the coaching is calling on the sidelines, that tells me a lot. So I think this team is a lot better. Like, can you really say that the Bulls are worse than the Orlando Magic right now, who made the A spot?
I think Orlando got better players. I mean, I don't think Wendell is good. I don't think I think Laurie has regressed to the point to where we need to start being worried about him.
And what is that a byproduct of, though?
I mean, it could be a byproduct of injury. It could be a byproduct of coaching. I mean, it could be all of those things, but I'm only going off what I see. And I understand everything that's going on behind that. But from what I see, I'm not sold on him. I'm not sold on Kobe. I think Otto Porter was a waste of money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't believe in them dudes, like, at all. And I definitely don't believe in that roster. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, you get another coach to come in and get those guys to play a better way, and play with a higher energy. But I think that's a big what if based off what we've seen the last 2 seasons from them.
No, I just think.
What do you think about?
No, go ahead.
What do you think about? We've talked about this on previous podcasts. Like, forget judging the talent on the roster. I'll give you a team, and you tell me moving forward, would you rather have the Bulls roster or would you rather have that roster? The Sacramento Kings.
The Bulls.
Ooh.
The Atlanta Hawks.
Gotta be ATL, Shawty.
Yeah, it's got. I'm thinking about roster makeups. I'm thinking about what the players can eventually be.
I would take Sacramento and Atlanta's roster over the Bulls right now.
You would take both of the rosters over the Chicago Bulls right now.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. Just Sacramento, because I think they're going to they're getting ready. They'll possibly lose Bogdanovich, because it makes no sense, to pay him and Buddy Hield. And then you got De'Aaron coming up again. Marvin Bagley has been kind of up and down.
But he's already gave up on Buddy Hield, too.
No, he got paid already. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
When you got –
But they benched him. He coming off the bench. He barely played in the bubble.
I think that was more so just because of where they were at. I mean, they got Harrison Barnes over there now, so
trash.
Yeah, you take Sacramento, Atlanta. I'll probably pick Atlanta over Chicago, but I mean that's a tough one. That's like neck and neck.
The Charlotte Bobcats.
No, Chicago.
Flash Hornets. You take the Bulls over them. All right.
I think the Bulls over Charlotte.
So you're taking the Bulls over the Charlotte Hornets and Atlanta, right?
No, you give me Sacramento and Atlanta. Only person I would take over, I would take Atlanta over the Bulls, and I would take Sacramento and Atlanta over. I would take Sacramento and Atlanta over the Bulls, not Charlotte.
Yeah, I would just pick Atlanta over the Bulls just in terms of talent, but they're neck and neck to me.
So that leads right into my next point. One of the things that AK did as soon as he got in here, one of the first moves he made was to eradicate the organization of the training staff. Like, first move out the door, get rid of this training staff, the history of injuries that suffered by the young players on this team, the lack of development, which goes directly to the assistant coaches, which will make the head coach hire and who he brings in vitally important. And I'm sure AK and Mark Eppersley will be connected to that. But with that being said, how much does the training staff play into what he does as far as moving pieces and looking at what he has? Because he has to be able to look at tape and say, okay, Laurie isn't healthy, but man, is he moving forward? Can we keep him healthy? And that helps make a decision of whether or not I move this piece. A guy like Wendell Carter Jr., who I think is a very good player, but when you have somebody that has core muscle injuries, that's a big deal for me. A core muscle injury is like, is his explosiveness going to be impacted by that? Is he ever going to be the same player that we thought he was coming out of Duke down in the middle? Can he be the rim protector? Yeah, he's stretching out trying to shoot the three, but other than that, how is his game going to develop? I think that's very important. And what AK is looking at the medicals for these guys far more than what they did on the court, because the young talent hasn't been on the court, to be honest. They haven't been on the court.
I think them young dudes just didn't want to play.
That could be it too, BC, because of the situation.
I think they want to play. Like, they checked out on Boylan a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? A long time ago. Like Chris said, like, when you hate coming to work and you hate playing for your boss, man, you would do anything to, like,
use all your sick days up.
Yeah, all your sick days, man. Like, nah, I can't go, coach. Nah, doc, this still hurt. You know what I'm saying? I need like another week. I need another 10 days. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, I think I tweaked something else. They ain't want to play for him, man. But I will say that, the Bulls training staff and their medical staff has been terrible. We saw that going back to the Derrick Rose era, the Luol Deng. I'll never forget that. How you give somebody a spinal tap in the middle of the playoffs, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? So I mean, they didn't do themselves any favors. I'll say that. But I mean, as far as like guys like being hurt, I just think a lot of them cats just didn't want to play.
Yeah, I mean, the Chicago's issue has been keeping like that quote unquote core on the floor together. We haven't seen them play enough. I mean, most of their chemistry is coming in practices, and it really wasn't translating to games because right when it seemed they would find the groove, somebody would go down, miss a couple of weeks, a guy come back, then another guy go down for another couple of weeks, and it's a lot of like really fluke and like freak occurrences just as far as injuries. So I really don't want to say like the medical staff failed because a lot of these guys do have pre-existing conditions when they're even drafted into the league. So that team is tasked with, maintaining like those injuries or trying to find a way to maintain this high level athlete who already has like a pre-existing condition or like a deteriorating, issue, and basically just trying to find the best program to keep them out there on the floor and keep them productive. So, but medical staff is highly important, just as far as recovery, nutrition, maintenance, like load monitoring, all of that stuff. So, AK is coming from, in my opinion, one of like the team with probably like the top medical and training staff in the league. When you look at what they've been able to do, I would say even when going back to Carmelo Anthony being over there, when you look at just the program Denver has had. So it makes a huge difference. And, I also think, if players can trust their medical staff, that's always a plus going forward.
Well, a lot of GMs jumped out on Twitter late Thursday night and Friday, coming up with a lot of trades when they found out the Bulls would get the 4th pick. And a lot of four, Laurie, Levine, and the kitchen sink going to Philly for Ben Simmons. I saw a lot of that. See, BC, you shaking your head. You just show no love for that cat Ben Simmons, huh?
Man, listen. If you bring Ben Simmons to Chicago, who you gonna play with? You got to give up everybody else. And you know what I'm saying? And Ben Simmons, for as multi-talented as he is, there's a lot of things he can't do. And so, what I'm saying? He got to be in the best situation possible. And you definitely don't want Ben Simmons to be, I don't even want to say your best player, but he definitely can't be your number one option. If Ben Simmons is your number one option, you got problems.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you what I'm leaning towards right now in my gut. Going to get Lamelo at any cost, not any cost, but at a good cost. I don't care if you have to get the 3rd pick. I don't care if you have to get the 2nd pick to solidify you getting LaMelo Ball. And then just letting Kobe White try to work himself into that Lou Williams role. If you're going to keep him, let him be that guy off the bench. That when he comes off the bench, he can just be offensive, be a lead guard, especially when Zach goes to the bench. And let it happen, man. I don't know if he can be that true point guard, but there really aren't a lot of true point guards in the NBA right now anyway. Most point guards are lead guards by definition.
Somebody got to explain to me what I'm missing in Kobe White. I don't get it.
I got to see what you're not seeing.
Like what am I looking at? Tell me what I'm looking at.
I mean, quickness, can shoot the 3, which is pretty much basically like half the game now. I mean, if you can get to the rim and shoot the 3, you're valuable. Collapse the defense. The only thing right now is just like facilitating, being able to get a team in the offense. That's really what's going to be next, and his development. But I mean,
can he shoot the 3 or is he just streaky?
I mean, he's a rookie too, so I mean, you can't really say a guy's just a bona fide, shooter. But I mean, he's a scorer. Basically, he's been a scorer since high school. So that's the one thing. That's basically what his skill set is now. I mean, and now you I think, like I said, I give props to Jim Boylan for bringing him along slowly and basically dumbing things down to basically like, hey, look, this is your only job when you get in. Go in there, be aggressive, get your shot. And then, I think they tried to start him, for the last later half of the season. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how him and Zach can fit together, given like prolonged playing time together.
Can you upgrade Kobe White?
I mean, you can upgrade anybody you can upgrade any position on this team, to be honest with you, if you think
if you can upgrade Kobe White, then you upgrade Kobe White. The only person I think you don't touch is Zach. Everybody else, you can get rid of.
All right, one name you're going to hear with that fourth spot if the Bulls have to take that pick and don't move anywhere in the draft, which AK is comfortable. He's very comfortable picking in the teens. That's where he had to pick. I think Jamal Murray was his highest pick that he had to deal with at the 7 for the Denver Nuggets. And he's at the 4. He spoke about that Friday, this being the highest he's been in the draft with a pick. So it'll be interesting in how he does things. He said he's going to get the best player available. And the rest of the draft lottery order pans out. Cavs at 5, Hawks at 6, Pistons at 7. The Knicks just can't catch a break in this draft lottery, man. All the way down to 8 for the Knicks. The Wizards at 9. The Suns at 10. The Spurs and the Celtics at number 14. This draft is getting a bad rap, in my opinion, as we get ready to wrap up, man. I'll just say this. I had an opportunity to watch a lot of these guys work in production for college basketball as a gig, and I got a chance to see a lot of these guys. I actually produced Cole Anthony's first ACC conference game against Notre Dame, and the show he put on that night.
I mean, the Bulls could take him.
I knew that night, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's one and done. And I felt like that night he was top 3 at that point, the kid that I saw. Of course, he got injured, and we weren't able to see. So, we'll see what the medical say about that kid. But just from a talent standpoint and distributing and getting his own bucket and no one can stop him from getting to the rim, like that dude fits the bill.
Yeah, Cole
like, I know a lot of mocks have him going in the teens. If it's one guard besides Lamelo that I know for sure has an NBA game and can dominate because I've seen it, I think it's Cole Anthony. And he had nothing to play with. I think he had one guy. I forget the young big guy that played power forward. He got injured as well for North Carolina, and their season was pretty much derailed after that. Well, that was really the only other offensive threat on the team besides Cole Anthony. So I think that's a sleeper moving forward. But the one guy I want you guys to chime in on is Deni Avdija. Deni Avdija, the 6'7" kid, the Israeli kid, 4 pick. And, of course, because of AK, they're going to say, man, he scouts European leagues. He knows those guys. I saw a lot of Bulls fans on social media Friday morning falling in love with the guy and falling in love with the YouTube videos. What do you think about this kid as we get ready to close?
I don't have an opinion. I ain't really watching this. I'm just really skeptical of Euros in general. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, for every Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic, you got a Mario Hezonja, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just go withhold my judgment until I sit down and actually watch some film with this kid. But I don't really know. I don't have an opinion yet.
So you don't agree? I know I don't agree with the Luka 2.0 thing. I hear a lot of people saying that he's Luka 2.0.
He don't even have that
His
body.
body is totally different. Yeah.
I mean, he might be like the second coming to Tony Kukoc or something like that. He obviously he plays in a tough league, and so he's got that going for him. But those leagues and the NBA are two totally different things. Nico went back to the crib. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't handle it, and he was getting that same type of hype too. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
I'm not saying this dude is that, but like I said, you rolling the dice on these European players, and just looking at his body type, that's already like a red flag to me. So like I said, I've only seen probably a minute of film with this kid. And from what I've seen talent. I don't know if it's the type of talent that the Bulls need to turn the course of their franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that sticks out to me and just watching like the clips of him is just versatility. I think 6'8", 6'9", and from the looks of it, you can play him probably from positions 2 through 4, perhaps depending on what lineups are out there. Definitely needs to bulk up, which is like most cases with like anybody coming into the league now. But it's tough to like grade those prospects, over there, especially just from you have like just clips of them. You don't know if it translate over into this game because the play is way different. Even though a lot of Euros now are finding out it's a lot easier to play over here now because things aren't as physical over here. So I'm pretty sure AK and those guys are going to do their homework. But I mean, he fits right into what I think the Bulls' need is in this draft. One of their needs, which is, getting somebody to shore up, that wing, just because Otto Porter Jr., I think he's a trade chip at the trade deadline next year, has $28 million that'll be coming off the cap. I mean, and you have Chandler Hutchison, who hasn't been able to stay healthy, his first 2 years in the league.
They need to trade Otto Porter
All right.
and create. Get his ass out of here.
ABC, another guy that's going to be linked to the Chicago Bulls, Obi Toppin from Dayton. Give us the comp you gave everybody else on Twitter.
I'm not talking about Obi Toppin.
Give us the player comp.
Oh, Kenny Skywalker. And I'm not sold.
Kenny Skywalker out of Kentucky, man.
Man, y'all can keep Obi Toppin, man. Keep him.
Man, that's cool.
Like I said, if the Bulls take him forward, actually, that's who Michael Jordan might take, Chris. Might take Obi Toppin. He might take Obi Toppin.
That's an MJ pick, man.
If the Bulls take Obi Toppin fourth, man, my boycott of the Chicago Bulls will continue. I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that.
The podcast, according to sources, man, go follow us. We are live and up, streaming on all platforms. The next time we'll be with you, we'll be talking about the conference semifinals for the playoffs, previewing those series, and have a little more about the Chicago Bulls and what's going to be happening with the number 4 pick and free agency coming up before the NBA draft. As always, my guy Bryan Crawford, B_Craw, the number 4 and D, and my guy Chris Cason at C4Dunk. You can check us out, follow us. Matter of fact, let me be a good producer right now.
There you go. You're on your job.
There you go.
Wait, you got Chris' name covered up.
I'm covered up, but
We gotta drop that.
There you go. I got it.
There you go.
There you go. You can follow all of us right there. SD2 Mics, B_Craw 4D, Chris Cason at C4Dunk. Before I let you guys go, C4, any other pieces coming up? I talked about the piece you did on the NBA bubble and interviewing the doctor down there and how they're taking care of the NBA bubble and making sure there are no breakouts or outbreaks. They've been very successful.
Yeah.
Along with the NHL, who I think has done a great job as well with their bubble. Anything else you're working on?
Yeah, well, I just talked. It should be coming out this week. I just talked to Dr. Robbie Sika. He's the Timberwolves Vice President of Basketball Performance and Technology. He's been a guy that's kind of helped spearhead the research of the coronavirus. Is a huge part of why the NBA restart is going on now. Right now, the league has basically helped fund this new testing model called Saliva Direct, and basically the goal is to get more testing into at-risk communities. So that piece should be out, I think, sometime this week. Very informative, just talking about how this is supposed to help make more testing available. It's a cheaper version of the test, more comfortable because it's taken from saliva as opposed to just the nasal swabs that are very common now. So yeah, very informative piece coming out.
And what's going on for you down there, producer? BC.
Man, you already know what I'm working on. I can't even speak on it, but I'm like Dame Lillard, man. Put some respect on my name, man.
Yo, BC is working on something that's so deep undercover. I hate the fact that I even know about it. Like, real talk. Like, I hate that you even told me. I'm sitting here like, why did he tell me this? I would just much rather be in the dark, but it's big, man. It's big time.
I had to tell somebody, man.
But it is big time. And I can't wait for you to come on here and talk about that and then possibly, get some people involved so we can really dig deep into that project, man. But my guys, C4 Dunk, Bryan Crawford, as always. Oh, before we go, we got to do this, man. What'd you guys listen to? What were you rocking this week?
That new Nas.
You like that?
You know what, man? I did. And I was like, it was one of the things. I was at the gig. I was listening to it. And then it went off. I'm like, damn, it's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was rocking. Like, Nas, like, finally, after 20-something years, you finally listen to the people and like, yo, get you some good beats to rap on.
Exactly.
Get you some good beats to rap on. And then you did that. You gave us like 35 minutes.
Right. So pretty much he changed producers, but he stuck to the Kanye model. Man,
listen, Hit Boy and Nas was a hit. Yeah. I like that. It was dope.
Yeah. I listened to like 4 songs, man, while I was on the elliptical this morning. I appreciated it. I was like, man, how many more shots is he gonna throw at Khalees on this album, man? I'm like 4 songs in.
Hey, have you seen that Child Support?
Man, that was spinning a bag.
I'm throwing shots every time I step in the booth.
Every time I step in the booth, I got something to say.
Subliminals, everything. I think he's paying out too. So yeah, I'm throwing shots every which way.
That don't even make no sense for a rapper to even have that type of child support. That is stupid.
That's crazy.
Like Nas don't even
BC, of course.
I don't even know what type of money Nas make to be able to afford that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, but I think reading his book, I think him and Steve Stout made some moves together, especially before everything blew up out on the West Coast in Silicon Valley. Yeah. I think he got in early on some of that stuff Nas did with Steve Stout. So I think Nas is straight.
I mean, he definitely straight. He definitely straight. To be paying that, he's good. You know what I'm saying? He is good.
And definitely shout out to Big Mensa, man. I love his product. This is the Big Mensa I like.
Let me tell you something.
This is the Big Mensa I like.
I like this Big Mensa, not the weirdo one. The weirdo one,
right?
This one right here, he's spitting. I like this one.
I gotta hear it.
Yeah, the freestyle was crazy.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid. So, man, according to sources, go follow us on all streaming platforms, man. Listen to previous podcasts. We'll see you next time we dig into the playoffs. 3-man weave, 3 dudes from the game that love the game, talking about the game. We'll check you out next time, man. We appreciate you guys.